Regular meeting number 6 will now come to order. Please stand for the playing of the national anthem. The Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will Pastor Dale Tucker please come forward? We are pleased to have Pastor Tucker, senior pastor of the Tridestone Baptist Church, here with us this evening to lead us in prayer.
Thank you, Council. Most holy and all-wise God, we come on today grateful, one, that you allowed us to see the day. We thank you that you've given us strength to bring us to this point in the day. We trust and believe that you will continue to provide for us to complete our assignments for the remainder of the day. Now, as we come for business for the city of Columbus, you reminded us that we are to lean not to our own understanding, but in all our ways to acknowledge you, and you will direct our paths. So we pause not only to say thank you, but we pause to say, provide unto us the wisdom that is needed to lead your people further into the endeavors that you will have for us to complete. Thank you for counsel. We thank you for those that are here. We thank you for the leadership that we found in government, not only on the state level, but we also lift up those on a national level as well. God, we thank you because if you keep us, we will be kept. If you bless us, we will be blessed. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson. President Pro Tem Brown. Any person who takes any actions to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of City Council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Is there a second? Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson. President Pro Tem Brown.
This week's communications received by the City Clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the City Bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
No, at this time.
Are there any resolutions by members of council? Councilmember Mitch Brown. Councilmember Dorans.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Brown. I do have one resolution this evening. I'd like to invite the chair of the Greater Southeast Area Commission, Ava Johnson, and her fellow commissioners to the podium as I introduce Resolution 0036X-2020 to recognize and celebrate the 5th anniversary of the Greater Southeast Area Commission and its contributions to the City of Columbus. The Greater Southeast Area Commission was founded in 2015 following the hard work of the Greater Southeast Area Task Force. In 2013, 10 members from the area civic associations and neighborhood block watches banded together to create the Greater Southeast Area Task Force due to rising concerns over the continuous closing of businesses, increases in crime, job loss, and a number of abandoned and vacant homes due to the housing market crash. Since that time, the Greater Southeast Area Commission has completed an area plan, voted on rezonings and applications for BZA, demolitions, and graphics. coordinated good neighbor agreements, held shred days, which is one of my favorite things, so you get all that clutter out of your house and safely dispose of them, and participated in National Night Out, and are currently in the works with local businesses to administer a Shop Local campaign, proving time and again that the Greater Southeast Area Commission is driven by a single goal: to do their part in making the community a better place for all, with the community input as well as collaboration between commissioners. The commission has been a great champion for our city's Southeast community for the past 5 years, and I know they will continue to serve the businesses, neighborhoods, and residents for a long time to come. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues at this point, I move for adoption.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Pro Tem Brown.
Commissioner Johnson, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Before Ava Johnson, Greater Southeast Area Commission Chair. Before I get started, I'm going to have my fellow commissioners introduce themselves.
Marion Harris. Diana Bunting.
Councilmember Dorans, President Harden, President Pro Tem Brown, and other distinguished city council members. On behalf of the Greater Southeast Area Commissioners, we want to thank Councilmember Dorans and his staff for sponsoring a resolution to honor the 5-year anniversary of the Greater Southeast Area Commission. We feel so honored to have this opportunity to have a 5-year anniversary. It just seems like yesterday we were in your offices, in your council chambers, providing rationale for a commission for our area and to obtain your blessings. Now 5 years has come and gone. We have learned a lot in the last 5 years, and we couldn't have done our jobs if it weren't for dedicated city employees. We're grateful for the support of Mayor Ginther and his office, Stanley Gates for his guidance, council's assistance. We're especially thankful for the help of the Department of Neighborhoods, Director Carla, William Scott, Toya Johnson, David Huey, Bruce Black, Nora Gerber, and we would be lost if we didn't have Lynn LaCour, the Far East Pride Center manager. We're grateful for the help of Attorney Stephen Dunbar and Tierra Ross, and the Department of Development, Kim Stans, Jackie Yeoman, Kevin Willer, and Mark Dravilis, and Shannon Pine, excuse me. We also would be lost if we didn't have Officer Poole, Mr. Pettis, and Chief Quinlan. So you've heard a lot of the things that we've accomplished in the last 5 years since we've been a commission. In addition, we were part of the Neighborhood Pride this past year. We also are looking to expand our borders to include parcels that sit in our commission area but aren't claimed by anyone. Now, the Greater Southeast Side is booming. Currently, just in our commission area alone, we have 4 building projects, with more coming. However, with growth comes growing pains. We're glad you have invited us to submit our ideas on what is needed in the capital budget. But just to let you know what we're getting ready to submit, we need better pedestrian connectivity. We need a comprehensive feasibility study to look at our current infrastructure on our roads and our major corridors. And we desperately need someone to review our traffic patterns, because what we have now is not working. Now, with growth comes an increase for police presence, and we know that Chief Quinlan is looking for ways to help us. So thank you for your support. The commission is excited about the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and we really thank you for everything that you've done for us so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. It's truly one of my favorite things to chair the Committee on Neighborhoods, to be able to work with area commissioners all across the city, and just to say thank you for all the important work that you all do on an everyday basis. Our 21 area commissioners are truly the neighborhood voices all across the city, and we couldn't do the work on council that we do without true buy-in from you all and the work that you do. In addition, not only doing that work on an everyday basis, but to create a new commission itself. So thank you for all that work 5 years ago and the work that you all do now, and I appreciate you all coming down for this recognition.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Councilmember Favor?
Thank you. Tonight I have Resolution 0034X-2020 to recognize February 7, 2020 as National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day, and to support the efforts of the African American Male Wellness Initiative Equitas Health, and NBC4 in engaging the residents of Columbus in awareness. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. John Gregory, representatives from the African American Male Wellness Initiative, as well as representatives from Equitas Health to the podium. The first National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day was marked in 1999 as a grassroots education effort to raise awareness about HIV and AIDS prevention, care, and treatment in communities of color. The 2020 theme is "We're in this together." HIV diagnoses have fallen in recent years among African American women, heterosexual men, and young African American gay and bisexual men. This good news shows that the nation's HIV prevention efforts are helping reduce HIV infections among some African Americans. Although the latest data shows progress, we must continue our efforts. In 2017, nearly 17,000 African Americans received a new HIV diagnosis. African Americans accounted for 43% of all HIV diagnoses in the United States, despite making up 13% of the U.S. population. At this time, I'd like to invite our guests to speak about the importance of this initiative and their event to honor the National Day this coming Friday. Mr. Gregory, the floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is DeJuan Stevens, and I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for Equitas Health. We're honored to be here today with our partners from the African American Male Wellness Initiative, as well as our other community partners that work with us on this day and on this event. We support and sponsor the walk because we believe that it is important to make sure that Black men, especially in this community, are aware of all the challenges that impact our health, and are afforded those opportunities to make sure that we can take care of ourselves, essentially. So one of the facts that I did want to mention is that, to your point, Councilwoman Favor, in 2018, 31% of new HIV diagnoses in the state of Ohio were Black men. So it's very important that we are focusing on this issue and that we're making sure that awareness is being brought to this issue.
Thank you so much.
First of all, what I would like to do, and we do this all the time, but I would like for the audience to give our city councilor a round of applause, because we have a fine city council. It really feels good to be standing here in front of this government body that really cares about its community. And so, Councilman, I really appreciate your taking the time to recognize the importance of this initiative. Every year, and I want you to mark your calendars, August 8th, we're expecting every city council person to be there. August 8th is that's when we'll have our African American Male Wellness Walk. Last year we had almost 30,000 people participating, and we did over 4,000 individual screenings. And the most important screenings that we know, is the HIV screenings, because we know that Black men are all of a sudden, out of nowhere, someplace years ago, Black men began to be the one who was most impacted by the HIV virus. And what we want to know, what we're trying to do is make sure that we are doing an awareness campaign. And again, I say it's an awareness campaign. We want everybody to understand that it is not a particular person's issue, it's all of our issue. And so I am extremely proud that our city council is recognizing that African American men are important, and their health and their wellness is important. So we appreciate this honor tonight. We appreciate you being a partner with us. We're telling you, get ready for 2020, because we have a lot of things that's going to go on for African American men in our community. We're going to take this process that we're doing, and we're going from neighborhood to neighborhood to educate Black men about HIV, opioid crisis, and making sure they have a healthy life. We have a research project that we're kicking off with The Ohio State University, where we're going to be screening 100 men over the next 26 weeks and trying to determine what is the thing that we can do to excite Black men about getting healthy. We have a project that you all funded called Untapped Workforce, where we have gotten almost 60 African American men jobs that they would have not normally have gotten. So we thank you, City Council, for recognizing that Black men's health is important, but that Black men are important. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you provide us with some additional information about the events that's coming up this week?
The event, there's 2 events. And so who wants to tell them about the event? I'm the oldest, so my mind ain't all right.
Good evening. So on Friday, National HIV/AIDS Awareness Day, we will have the official event will be at the Lincoln Cafe, and it starts at 6 p.m. So we will be providing dinner. We'll have games, because what we want to do is make the conversation a fun conversation at the same time while we're learning. So it's an educational event centered around games and prizes. That again will be Friday at the Lincoln Cafe. But to kick it off, we will be doing something with the Lincoln Cafe. It's surrounded around arts, and that's going to be on Thursday. So if you cannot make it to Friday, then we're saying there's no excuse, then come to Thursday. And that's going to be at the King Arts Complex. That's going to begin at 7 p.m. We have some really neat things going on there as well. Everything, as you know, all of our events are free. So it's really important for our sponsors. We are working with Columbus Public Health, is also involved with this initiative, and they also help with the screenings. So on the actual day, we will be doing free screenings. Last year, we had a goal of we just wanted to see 75 people. We ended up doubling that number. So we're excited about HIV Awareness Day, and we really appreciate you for supporting the initiative.
Thank you. If I could have everyone introduce themselves, the work that you all are doing, whether it's through the African American Male Wellness Walk or through Equitas Health, our community truly appreciates your advocacy and your commitment to moving the needle forward for African American men in Columbus, Ohio. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all of the work that you're doing. Please introduce yourself to the city.
So I just spoke. My name is Devion White, and I'm in charge of all the screenings on the day of the initiative and throughout the year.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Marlon Platt. I am the Regional Director for the African American Male Wellness Initiative, and I'm everything Columbus.
Everybody's scared. I'm Perry Gregory, National Center for Urban Solutions Vice President.
Emmanuel Anthony, Principal of the Academy for Urban Scholars High School, and partner with the African American Male Wellness Initiative.
Narhari Luke, Business Developer at the National Center for Urban Solutions and Outreach and Engagement Coordinator at the African American Male Wellness Initiative.
I'm a little taller than most. I'm Tracia Mock. I am the Program Coordinator at NCUS, and I'm also the Vendor Coordinator for the initiative.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dana Lavender, and I am the Volunteer Coordinator for the National African American Male Wellness Walk, and also newly, Junior Project Manager for the 100 men that we're screening for the project. So I just got that today.
Congratulations.
How you doing? I'm Ralph Carter. I'm the Dean of Students at the Academy for Urban Scholars.
Michelle Motti, Passion Team Coordinator for the Walk.
Good evening, Thomas Gunn, Program Coordinator for the Untapped Workforce, as well as a partner with the African American Wellness Initiative.
Good evening. My name is Ashanti Jefferson. I am a sponsor. I represent AHF AIDS Healthcare Foundation. I'm a Ryan White Case Manager, and I'm committee member for the African American Male Wellness Walk initiatives. Thanks.
Edward Avery, Entertainment Coordinator for the Walk.
All right, do we get everybody? All right, wonderful. Are there any comments from my colleagues? Yes, Councilmember Tyson.
Thank you, Councilmember Favor. To John and to the team, I just really appreciate all the work that you're doing in our community, certainly to uplift Black men and families within this community. I am appreciative, especially about this particular initiative. It is very important that we work to I'm appreciative of the testing, but this has to be an ongoing commitment in terms of making sure that our young black men are using protection, and how do we start sharing that, and how do we make that happen? That is, so this disease does not continue to spread between men to men, men to women within this community. And so I'm hopeful that as you are testing individuals, you begin to think about the educational component of this initiative to ensure that this disease does not continue, even though it's decreasing, but it's still at levels that are not acceptable in this community. And any work that you can do to educate our young men and women about HIV and AIDS is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
And then I just want to thank President Hardin. I know he's not here, but he will also be kicking off the event on Friday. So he'll be doing the opening remarks. So we're just going to make sure you tell him thank you.
Well, with that, I will move for adoption.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Pro Tem Brown.
Resolution adopted.
Thank you. And lastly, I will also be hosting community hours this Thursday, February 6th, in partnership with the Council of Graduate Students at The Ohio State University. Please join me from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at 100 Page Hall. That is all.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Remy?
Thank you very much, President Pro Tem Brown. I don't have any resolutions this evening, but I do have a couple of announcements. I will be hosting community hours on the following dates. This next Tuesday, February 4th at Panera Bread, 875 Bethel Road, Columbus 43214 from 4:30 to 6. And then again on Tuesday, February 18th at Stouff's Coffee Roasters, 627 South 3rd Street in Columbus 43206, 3:30 to 5. That's all I have this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Tyson?
Thank you, President Pro Tem Brown. I do have one resolution. It's resolution number 17X-2020, and it is to declare Friday, February 7th of 2020 as Wear Red Day in the city of Columbus, and to raise awareness regarding cardiovascular disease as a leading cause of death among women. I'm going to ask from the American Heart Association, Rochelle Bailey, the Senior Director for the Go Red for Women, Elise Luce, Vice President of Community Health, to start walking towards the podium, Aaron Murphy, the Director for Go Red for Women, Tasia Lacey, the 2020 Real Woman Go Red for Women Ambassador, and Krisha Ock, the Ohio Advocacy Director. I'm going to ask also Denise Friend Foster, who is Alpha Sigma Omega Chapter, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Pink Goes Red, Go Red for Women, Women's Heart Health Education, I think Chaz Jefferson and Marlon Platt for the African American Male Wellness Walk Initiative, Blood Pressure Program, and Life Simple 7 Program, and Lori Sterner, the Communication Director for Celebrate One CPR Program. The resolution is to declare Friday, February 7th, 2020 as a Wear Red Day in the city of Columbus, and to raise awareness regarding cardiovascular disease as a leading cause of death among women. Whereas cardiovascular disease is a leading cause of death in women, claiming the lives of one of every three. More than 50% of women are unaware that heart disease is a leading cause of death for women. Women of color are even less likely to be aware of this. Moreover, 60% of stroke deaths are attributed to women, and about 4 million other stroke survivors who are alive today are women. African American women have the highest prevalence of stroke amongst all women, whereas 80% of all cardiovascular disease is preventable as risk factors for heart disease such as high blood pressure, smoking, high cholesterol can be controlled. Unfortunately, even with this knowledge, cardiovascular disease kills one woman almost every 80 seconds. And whereas the American Heart Association's Go Red for Women movement was designed to motivate women to learn their family history, to encourage women to meet with their healthcare provider to assess their risk for cardiovascular disease and stroke, to commit to making physical activity and healthy eating a priority, to take charge of their heart health by knowing their total cholesterol, HDL, the good cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, and body mass index, as these steps will improve overall heart health. Whereas the American Heart Association, recognizing the importance of raising awareness through community collaborations, has community programs which include relationships with the Columbus Metropolitan Housing Authority, their blood pressure program, the Ward Family YMCA blood pressure program, the Links Go Red for Women, Women's Heart Health Education, Celebrate One CPR program for the African American Men's Wellness Walk Initiative, a blood pressure program, and Life Simple 7 program, the East Linden and Salem Elementary Schools Teaching Gardens program, and the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Pink Goes Red, Go Red for Women, Women's Heart Health Education, and a host of other community partners. Now therefore be it resolved by this council and the city of Columbus, this council does hereby recognize the importance of the ongoing fight against heart disease, stroke, and proclaim Friday, February 7th to be the National Wear Red Day in Columbus, and urge all citizens to show their support for women and the fight against heart disease by commemorating this day by wearing red, the color red, by increasing awareness, speaking out about heart disease, and empowering women to reduce their risk for cardiovascular disease. We can save thousands of lives each year. And be it further resolved that this council would urge each resident to show their support for women and fight against heart disease by commemorating this day, by wearing the color red, by increasing awareness, speaking out about heart disease, and empowering women to reduce their risk for cardiovascular diseases, and we can again save thousands of lives. If there are no further comments, I move for adoption.
Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Thank you.
Resolution adopted.
I'm sorry. I thank my council colleagues for wearing red, is also wearing the Go Red dress on their lapels, et cetera. So I'm very appreciative of that. And so now I'm going to turn over the podium to Ms. Lacey.
Yes. Good
Floor is
evening.
yours.
Hi. First of all, I want to give all honor and glory to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because he is at the head of everything that I do. So on the behalf of myself and the American Heart Association, thank you, Councilwoman Tyson, Council President Hardin, and all members of council. As a heart disease survivor, I am thrilled to see the council calling attention to the #1 killer of women, stroke and heart disease, by supporting Go Red for Women again this year. My name is Tasha Lacey, and I am one of 9 of this year's National Go Red for Women spokeswomen for the American Heart Association. And a little story of my story, I am 54 years old, and I am a hula hoop fitness instructor. And I'm also a business owner, a small business owner. And at the age of 50, I thought I was in the best shape of my life until I had that heart attack, the Widowmaker, 99% blockage. So after a series of me coming to grips with the fact that I did, in fact, have a heart attack, I was actually hula hooping on the day that I had my heart attack. So after being in denial of my heart attack, because I was unaware, because I didn't fit the stereotype, I didn't fit the bill, I realized that I had a heart attack and I needed to get myself together. So having said that, I offer my most heartfelt appreciation to your Councilwoman Tyson and the entire council for your support in creating a visual display throughout the Columbus to help the American Heart Association further their efforts in stopping the #1 killer of women. Your support truly is valuable, and I thank you. We thank you. You want to say something, Rochelle? No? Okay, I'm going to do this. The American Heart Association is focused on making a positive impact in the community and we're committed to equitable health for all through our programs like Target BP, Hands-On Only CPR, Life Simple 7, Teaching Gardens, and more. We are working to make a healthier Central Ohio. Cardiovascular disease and strokes causes 1 in 3 deaths among women, more than all of the cancers combined. Fortunately, we can change that because 80% of this is preventable if only we are aware. So my why, when I was asked as what I wanted for the American Heart Association, my why is awareness. Had I have been aware of those symptoms and not ignored them to pull muscle from hula hooping or just overly working out, I would have known. So it's important for me to make that understood that women need to be aware and to know the signs, to know those, your cholesterol, your HDL, your BMI, your blood pressure, your blood glucose. Cardiovascular disease, Go Red for Women fights to increase awareness, speak about heart disease and stroke, and empowers women to reduce their risk for cardiovascular disease. With your support in proclaiming Wear Red Day, Columbus, we can raise awareness and rally support for all women to take action and change the odds, one heart at a time. Thank you. And remember, Go Red for Women's Luncheon is Thursday, February the 20th at the Greater Columbus Convention Center.
Thank you, Ms. Lacey, for certainly coming down and telling your story. Again, I want to thank, and the partners can introduce and share who's here, but the partners can speak. But I really do appreciate your story, and that I'm hopeful that more women will go to the doctor, get their blood checked, do those things, because it is a preventable disease.
Absolutely.
And I know one of the partners is the who's standing next to the African American Male Wellness Walk, and that take advantage of these, free services to get your blood checked, and it's so important. And so I'm glad that 4 years later you're able to come here and tell your story and be a nationwide advocate for the American Heart Association to empower women to continue to take care of themselves and to know their numbers. So thank you for being here. And the rest of you can introduce yourselves too.
I'm Rochelle Bailey, the Senior Director of the Go Red for Women movement here in Columbus, and just want to say thank you so much, and we hope you'll all join us at the luncheon on February 20th as we celebrate the awareness and the work that we've done year-round. We'll be talking a lot about precision medicine and the future of women's health, so we hope you will join us, and thank you.
I'm Sarah Lewis. I am actually the coordinator for the American Heart Association Heart Walk, but just came to support our friends in Go Red today.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm back. My name is Marlon. I am the Regional Director for the African American Male Wellness Initiative. We as men know that we are better off when we have the women in our lives to support us, so we would be remiss not to support this initiative that these women are fighting for. By not being there for them, we would be completely doing a disservice. And we know that men, we need a little bit of a push, a lot of a push, a whole lot of push, and that typically comes from the women in our lives. So anything that we can do to be supportive, anything that we can do to work in tandem with the women in our lives, whether they are moms, sisters, nieces, nephews, grandmothers, to help them and encourage them to be healthy and active. We want to be supportive, and on Friday, we will be wearing red.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. And then finally, I have a resolution as well. As I read the title, I would like to invite Tom Merritt, Carl Kennedy, and Melanie Gomez to the podium. Resolution 0033X-2020 to recognize the Private Leisure Assistance for Youth, or PLAY, grant program, the Champions for Play Committee, and the annual Champions for Play golf outing. Tonight, I am proud to recognize the Columbus Recreation and Parks Department program, Private Leisure Assistance for Youth, also known as PLAY. Established in 1993, PLAY provides financial assistance for qualifying families to participate in fee-based programs and summer camps through Columbus Recreation and Parks. The goal is to never turn a child away because of the cost of a program. and Play helps make that a reality. Since its inception, Play has provided more than $1.3 million to our local youth. That direct support allows Columbus kids to be just that, kids, and gives them the chance to grow and play through organized activities. Organized sports and other activities give children the opportunity to gain confidence, leadership, problem solving, and social skills, as well as develop their creativity and so much more. To help raise the funds necessary for the Play program, a Champions for Play committee was formed and a fundraising golf outing is held annually. 2020 marks its 25th year. Carl Kennedy and Melanie Gomez serve on the Champions for Play committee, and Tom Merritt serves as chair. Thank you three so much for being here tonight, and I invite Mr. Merritt to the podium to please share more about your important work and the annual outing.
Thank you, Council Member Pro Tem and members of Council. You know, it's really humbling. I've been in this room a number of times in my career, and to come back and realize how humbling it is to see how many great causes there are in the community. The folks who spoke before us, I think it just speaks to the nature of the community where people are willing to help others, and that's really humbling. We've raised millions of dollars and we've helped tens of thousands of children here in Columbus, and we couldn't have done it alone. So I want to thank our corporate sponsors, H.R. Gray, Kokosing, and Jacobs Engineering, and the many others who have contributed over the 25 years we've been doing this. And then certainly our community members. We're blessed to have Michael Das, former OSU All-American and NFL football player, who's our celebrity spokesperson. The Ohio State University Columbus Crew and Columbus Blue Jackets have also been very helpful in the events that we've put on. And we couldn't have done it without your support as well, City Council members. So thank you, thank the members of the administration, Mayor Ginther and the folks that are sitting behind me, and Columbus Recreation and Park staff as well. It really takes a village to do what we do, and we're really blessed to have a great community to do this in. The event's on May 4th. I hope that you'll mark your calendars and hope to see you there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Merritt. Any questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for adoption. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Resolution adopted. Are there any comments by our elected officials or members of the administration? None? All right. Are there any requests by members of council for the removal of an ordinance or resolution from the consent action portion of the agenda? Not seeing none, may we now have a motion to waive second reading of the titles of 30-day legislation by the city clerk? Second. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance numbers of 30-day legislation on tonight's agenda for first reading?
Finance Committee, ordinances 244 and 250-2020. Public Utilities Committee, ordinances 52, 131, 141, 169, 170, 203-2020. Economic Development Committee, ordinance 199-2020. Zoning Committee, ordinances 30, 117, 228, 229, 255, 278, 301, 302, 303-2020, and 3332-2019.
The following ordinances appear on our agenda as consent actions. Will the clerk now read the ordinance numbers of each into the record?
Resolution of Expression 35X-2020, Finance Committee, ordinances 3321-2019, ordinances 21, 39, 40, 58, 61, 62, 97, 126, 182, 184, 204, 205, and 269-2020. Recreation and Parks Committee, ordinances 55 and 56-2020. Public Utilities Committee, ordinance 3163 and 3231-2019, and ordinances 23, 26, 116, 118, 122, 130, 135, 156, 160, 180, 224-2020. Neighborhoods Committee, ordinance 246-2020. Technology Committee, ordinance 125-2020. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinances 112, 136, 140, 190, 191, and 256-2020. Housing Committee, ordinance 218-2020. Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee, Ordinance 138-2020 and 139-2020. Economic Development Committee, Ordinance 271-2020. Administration Committee, Ordinances 209, 263, and 264-2020.
Seeing no speaker slips, may I have a motion for approval of these items designated as consent actions? Second? Clerk, call the roll by voice.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorans?
Yes.
Ms. Favor? Mr. Remy? Ms. Tyson?
Yes, with the exception of 138-2020, on which I am abstaining.
President Pro Tem Brown?
Yes. Consent agenda items are passed with the noted exception. We will now proceed with the second reading of 30-day tabled and emergency legislation. The first committee is the Finance Committee, which I chair. Councilmembers Tyson, Mitch Brown, and President Hardin serve on the committee. The first two ordinances in finance are part of the 2020 operating budget as proposed by Mayor Ginther last November. Since receiving the budget proposal, City Council has held 8 hearings to receive public feedback and review its provisions. A majority of those were held outside chambers and in the neighborhoods, so thank you to CTV for your hard work. I also want to thank my council colleagues for working with me to put forward our collective priorities for this budget. In addition to our public hearing process, every member of council is in the community throughout the year listening to residents to learn about the issues impacting their lives. As a body, we are committed to aligning spending priorities through this budget with the everyday priorities of our residents. We are working to build pathways out of poverty, create good-paying jobs, and strengthen our neighborhoods. Tonight, we are amending the operating budget to reflect these priorities. We will be holding a hearing this Wednesday, February 5th at 10:30 here in council chambers to review these amendments in depth. We expect to vote on the amended budget package at the February 10th council meeting next week. First up, Ordinance 2925-2019 to make appropriations for the 12 months ending December 31st, 2020 for each of the several object classes for which the City of Columbus has to provide from the monies known to be in the treasury of said City of Columbus, in the fund known as the General Fund, during the said 12 months from the collection of all taxes and from other sources of revenue, the amount of $965 million, and to declare an emergency. I first move to take from the table. Second. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed. I move to amend as submitted to the clerk. Second. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
I move to table until the council meeting on February 10th. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Ordinance is tabled. Next, I have Ordinance 2926-2019 to make appropriations and transfers for the 12 months ending December 31st, 2020 for other funds for various divisions, to authorize the city auditor to make transfers as may be necessary and to declare an emergency. I first move to take from the table. Second. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
I move to amend as submitted to the clerk. Second. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
I move to table until the council meeting on February 10th. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Ordinance passed, or ordinance tabled, excuse me. Next in finance, we have Ordinance 3337-2019 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to enter into a contract on behalf of the Office of Construction Management with 2K General Company for services related to the renovation of fire suppression system in City Hall, and to authorize the expenditure of $4,295,000 from the Construction Management Capital Improvement Fund. This project will consist of the installation of a new sprinkler system in City Hall. The existing fire alarm panel will be upgraded to allow for new alarms for the sprinkler system. Historical features of the building will be preserved with recessed sprinkler heads. And due to the age of the building, a contingency of $1,200,000 is included to help cover any unforeseen conditions that might arise during construction. This work is to bring City Hall up to code. Any questions from colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage. Second. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Ordinance passed. Next is ordinance 0098-2020 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance and to establish purchase orders with the appropriate universal term contract purchase agreement for automotive parts for the Fleet Management Division, to authorize the expenditure of $4,500,000 from the Fleet Management Operating Fund and to declare an emergency. During 2020, the Fleet Management Division is budgeted to spend $5.5 million for parts to keep the city's fleet of approximately 6,000 vehicles in operation. Fleet Management processes more than 40,000 work orders annually and requires purchase orders with more than 400 vendors to help meet this need for all city vehicles. Emergency action is being considered to ensure an uninterrupted supply of automotive parts to help keep city vehicles running. This ordinance is contingent upon the passage of the 2020 operating budget. Seeing no questions, I move for passage. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed. Ordinance 0099-2020 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with appropriate universal term contracts and to establish various purchase orders for fuel and fueling services on behalf of the Fleet Management Division per the terms and conditions of previously established universal term contracts, to authorize the expenditure of $2,100,000 from the Fleet Management Operating Fund and to declare an emergency. The Fleet Management Division budgeted $9.3 million for unleaded and diesel fuels in 2020. This authorization is specifically for purchases of fuel by individual vehicles through the services provided by WEX Bank. Purchasing fuel in this way is primarily done by Division of Police patrol cars. Emergency action is being considered to ensure an uninterrupted supply of fuel and fueling services for city vehicles. This ordinance is also contingent on the passage of the 2020 operating budget. Seeing no questions, I move for passage. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed. Next is ordinance 0100-2020 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with the appropriate universal term contract purchase agreement for bulk automotive fuel and to establish various purchase orders for vehicle fuel on behalf of the Fleet Management Division per the terms and conditions of previously established universal term contracts, to authorize the expenditure of $2,500,000 from the Fleet Management Operating Fund and to declare an emergency. This authorization is for purchase of fuel utilized at city-operated refueling stations. Emergency action is requested to ensure an uninterrupted supply of fuel. This ordinance is contingent on the passage of the 2020 operating budget as well. Seeing no questions, I move for passage. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed. Next is ordinance 175-2020. To appropriate and authorize the city auditor to transfer $9,564,227 from the Special Income Tax Fund to the Franklin County Convention Facilities Authority Fund for the purpose of providing secondary funding in the event that Franklin County Convention Facilities Authority cannot meet its debt obligations, to appropriate and expend up to $7,036,937.50 within the Special Income Tax Fund for reimbursement to the River South Authority to make lease payments, to appropriate and expend up to $1,841,500 to the River South Authority to make lease payments, and to declare an emergency. The payments authorized by this ordinance are in accordance with lease agreements the City of Columbus is currently entered into with the Franklin County Convention Facilities Authority and the River South Authority. It is important to note that the $9.5 million transfer of funds to Franklin County Convention Facilities Authority will only occur in the event that they are unable to meet their debt obligations as outlined in their lease. No payments have been needed since 1990, and it is not anticipated that they will be needed this year. The $7 million payment to the River South Authority covers bond service charges for the redevelopment and rehabilitation of the former downtown Lazarus department store. The city entered into a series of agreements with the River South Authority between 2004 and 2014, which make these payments necessary. The final appropriation of $1.8 million covers bond service charge payments for the construction of the underground parking garage and park located adjacent to COSI. The city entered into a master lease agreement and supplemental lease agreement for this project in 2016. Emergency action is being considered on this ordinance so that these payments are not delayed. Are there any questions from colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage. Second. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed. I'm going to move on to the Recreation and Parks Committee, which I also chair. Ordinance 64-2020 to authorize the Director of the Recreation and Parks Department to execute any and all necessary agreements and deeds for conveyance of title of one parcel of real property known as the Historical Harrison House and Lucas Sullivan Land Office, located at 570 West Broad Street, Columbus, Ohio 43215, Franklin County Tax Parcel 010-027-837 to the Columbus Historical Society and to declare an emergency. As I explain a little further, I would like to invite Michael Frush and Fran Ryan to the podium. The Harrison House and Lucas Sullivan Land Office are iconic pieces of Columbus's history and the history of Franklinton. Our goal is to ensure these properties are preserved and a part of our city's future as well. The Columbus Historical Society and the Franklinton Historical Society have entered into an MOU with the city which outlines their commitment to maintaining these properties. Our shared goal is to utilize these sites to provide quality programming, events, and educational opportunities. I want to thank our Recreation and Parks Department, and in specific Tina Moan, for her work ensuring that we do just that. And thank you to Michael Frush, President of the Columbus Historical Society, and Fran Ryan, who needs no descriptor or introduction, for being here tonight to tell us a little bit more about this transfer and partnership.
Okay. Michael's good.
Thank you for letting me speak first. No one should have to follow Fran at the podium.
I agree.
The Columbus Historical Society is very excited to be the custodial partner in the future of these two properties. Very historical properties. The Harrison House was built in 1807 by the Robert Culberson family, who was a Revolutionary War veteran and served on the first state legislature. He also made the motion to partial out Franklin County from Ross County. So, very important person. This was his home originally. The Lucas Sullivan home was built in land office was built in 1822. Was the last building that Lucas Sullivan erected that still exists today. So, was used by him as a land office in the latter part of his life. We're very excited to be that custodian. We understand there are responsibilities with that, including finishing the restoration that the city has started on the property, to preserving it for future generations, and for the historical programming and educational program that will exist at that location. We're extremely happy to be partnering with the Franklinton Historical Society. If you've been involved in Franklinton at all in the last 25 years, you should be aware of the great programming that they do for this community. We really believe they've earned the right to do the programming. That MOU allows them to do the programming for the next 5 to 10 years and probably beyond that. So, very excited to be a part of this. When we were first approached to be a partner in this, Fran and I met with numerous civic leaders and potential funders to make sure there was community support for it. We were very pleased to report the support was overwhelming. That's why we were very willing to be a partner in this venture. But it will take a partnership with the rest of the community to fund the rest of it. We have requested funds already from the state capital budget, so you know that. We take this very seriously and are extremely pleased to be a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I want to be here to thank each and every one of you for allowing us to do this and to really help us work through the system for a long, long time. It was in the early 70s when I had the opportunity with then Mel Dodge, who was our Recreation and Parks Director, to not allow that area to be destroyed. So it's been a long time coming. I'm here to show you my shirt, which I've had for a long time, and to thank those in the past who helped us do this. The youngsters from Whetstone at that time contributed their pennies and their dimes and nickels and quarters so that we could do some T-shirts. To the people who allowed us to venture onto the property and to peek in the windows and to make sure that this might be a place that we should save, and we did that. So I want to thank all of the councilmen in previous council sessions who attended meetings, and all of you who have attended meetings to help us bridge that gap between Franklinton and the Columbus Historical Society. We are a great part of Franklinton. I see us as being an evolving part of what's going to go soon happening around us, and I think that the historic part is something that we will not only leave the children today, but the children tomorrow, to appreciate Columbus and its history. So thank you very much, and thanks to the folks at the Recreation and Parks who have been so patient to make this happen. Paul, thank you. Okay, thank you very, very much.
Thank you both so much. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I move for passage. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have the Public Utilities Committee. Councilmember Dorans chairs that committee. Members Elizabeth Brown, Mitch Brown, and President Hardin sit on that committee.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Brown. We have a lot in public utilities tonight, so strap in. The first ordinance is number 3172-2019 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter in a professional engineering services agreement with Hazen and Sawyer for the Astor Burnham Integrated Solutions and Astor Burnham Storm Sewer Improvements Project, to authorize the transfer within an expenditure of up to $311,864.14 from the Storm Sewer Bond Fund, to authorize the expenditure of up to $936,012.74 from the Sanitary Sewer General Obligation Bond Fund, and to authorize an amendment to the 2019 capital improvement budget. We'll be assessing the condition of and cleaning the existing storm sewers and performing inspections of all sewer manholes within the project limits to assist in preparing solutions necessary to accomplish the objectives of Blueprint Columbus in the Mid-East Community Planning Area. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Next, I have ordinance number 3197-2019 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into a professional engineering service agreement with CDM Smith, Inc. for the Gertrude Latimer Integrated Solutions and Gertrude Latimer Storm Sewer Improvements Project, to authorize the transfer within an expenditure of up to $699,974.82 from the Storm Sewer Bond Fund, to authorize the expenditure of up to $2,999,924.47 from the Sanitary Sewer General Obligation Bond Fund, and to authorize the amendment to the 2019 capital improvement budget. This ordinance does the same type of work that the prior ordinance does, just simply in a different portion of the Mid-East Community Planning Area, as they also prepare for Blueprint Columbus in that portion of the city. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed.
Next, I have ordinance number 3202-2019 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to renew an existing engineering agreement with Andover Associates Ltd. for the Southerly Wastewater Treatment Plant Post-Atrium Diffuser Replacement Project, to authorize the transfer of $364,048.47 within an expenditure of up to $1,163,648.47 from the Sanitary Sewer General Obligation Bond Fund, and to amend the 2019 capital improvement budget. The Southerly Wastewater Treatment Plant operates 4 chlorination and post-Atrium basins, that's a hard one. As part of the disinfection treatment process, the current PVC air pipe and ceramic diffuser system was installed in 2006 and needs to be replaced at this time. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed.
Next, we have ordinance number 0038-2019 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into a construction contract with ProShot Concrete, Inc. for the Allen Creek Trunk Rehabilitation Phase C project, to authorize the appropriation and transfer of $5,729,118.30 from the Sanitary Sewer Reserve Fund to the Ohio Water Development Loan Fund, to authorize the appropriation of expenditure of $5,729,118.30 in the Ohio Water Development Loan Fund, and to authorize an expenditure of up to $2,000 for the prevailing wage services within the Sanitary General Obligation Voted Bond Fund. This rehabilitation is required to restore hydraulic capacity of existing infrastructure and to rehabilitate it as to extend the useful life for another 40 to 50 years. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed.
Next, we have ordinance number 0041-2020 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter in a professional engineering service agreement with Santec Consulting Services, Inc. for the OSIS BWARI BWOAS Large Diameter Sewer Condition Assessment Project, to authorize the expenditure of up to $1,428,754.66 from the Sanitary Sewer General Obligation Bond Fund, and to authorize an amendment to the 2019 capital improvements budget. The city is required by the Ohio EPA to assess all of our trunk sewers. Doing so reduces the city's overall risk to the sanitary sewer collection system and will inform future prioritization of repairs that are needed within the city. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed.
Next, we have ordinance number 0057-2020 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter in a construction contract with BLD Services, LLC for lateral lining Clintonville 1, Bedlam/Glencoe, to authorize the appropriation and transfer of $5,922,539.70 from the Sanitary Sewer Reserve Fund to the Ohio Water Development Loan Fund, to authorize the appropriation and expenditure of $5,922,539.70 from the Ohio Water Development Loan Fund, and to authorize an expenditure of up to $2,000 for prevailing wage services within the Sanitary General Obligations Voted Bond Fund. This project will mitigate issues of water getting into residents' basements, as well as sanitary sewer overflows in the Clintonville planning area. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed.
Next, I have ordinance number 0107-2020 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance within the appropriate universal term contract purchase agreements for the purchase of plant manufacturer-specific parts, equipment, and services for the Division of Sewers and Drainage, and to authorize the expenditure of $1,663,000 from the Sewer Operating Fund. The parts, materials, and services authorized by this ordinance will be used to maintain, repair equipment for the Jackson Pike Wastewater Treatment Plant, Southerly Wastewater Treatment Plant, and the Sewer Maintenance Operations Center. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
And last but certainly not least, we have ordinance number 0142-2020 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance within the appropriate universal term contract purchase agreements for the purchase of Centex and data services with AT&T for the Division of Power, the Division of Water, and the Division of Sewage and Drainage, and to authorize the expenditure of up to $450,000 from the Electricity Operating Fund, $860,000 from the Water Operating Fund, and $355,000 from the Sewer Operating Fund, and to declare an emergency. This contract supports the continued use of the department's SCADA system, which controls various public utilities, assets, operations, and also records data. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed.
And with that, President Pro Tem Brown, that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Dorans. Next, we have the Public Service and Transportation Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Favor. Members Mitch Brown, Elizabeth Brown, and President Hardin serve on that committee.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Brown. Tonight in Public Service and Transportation, we have ordinance number 0088-2020 to amend the 2019 capital improvement budget to authorize the transfer of funds and appropriation within the Streets and Highways Bond Fund, to appropriate funds within the Street and Highways Improvement Non-Bond Fund and within the Water General Obligation Funds, to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into contract with Strasser Paving Company for the Signal Installation Central College at Harlem Road project, to authorize the expenditure of up to $2,388,068.45 from the Streets and Highways Bond Fund, the Street and Highway Improvement Non-Bond Fund, and the Water General Obligation Bonds Fund for the Signal Installation Central College at Harlem Road project, and to declare an emergency. This contract includes constructing new traffic signal and road widening for turn lanes at the intersection of Central College Road and Harlem Road. The contract also includes installing sidewalk, curb ramps, driveway approaches, and traffic control improvements near the intersection while also relocating utilities. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I would move for passage.
Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed.
Thank you. That's all I have in my committee.
Thank you, Councilmember Favor. Next, we have the Rules and Reference Committee, which is chaired by President Hardin. Members Elizabeth Brown, Favor, and Doran serve on that committee. Councilmember Tyson.
Yes, I have ordinance number 3264-2019 is to amend sections 41, 14.3531 and 4114.933 of the Columbus City Code, Chapter 4114, License and Registration, General Provisions of the Columbus Building Code, and Section 3381.20 of Chapter 3381, Implementation of the Columbus Zoning Code to allow for more expedient transfer of professional trade license assignments. I'm going to ask for Director Messer to please add some comments to this ordinance.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. Essentially, this section of the code we wanted to change in response to some customers as well as the Better Business Bureau. All of our licensees end up getting licenses through us in their personal name, and then they assign that a company or business name so that permits can be pulled in the name of that company. Unfortunately, if there's a change from one company to the other, the code required a 90-day waiting period that we're attempting to eliminate so that customers can just move fluidly from one business to another while maintaining their license in their personal name. And that's basically the impact of this legislation, so appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Director Messer. And again, I'm glad that you are willing to implement this change. It will reduce some of the frustration of the contractors. It also will lower the fees for our contractors, and so it makes the process, as he said, much easier for them. And it also reduces the number of submittals needed to change the name, and it reduces some of our staff confusion. And so any way we can continue to support our staff is certainly something we want to always do. And so with that, if there are no questions or comments, I'm sorry, Councilmember Dorans wants to make a few comments.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. Just a quick question for the director. Just a quick point of clarification. So when they assign their license to a different business based upon a name change, that license can only be assigned to one individual company at a time, correct?
Yes, Councilmember Dorans, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed. That is all the business we have in regular meeting 6. I ask for a motion to adjourn. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Pro Tem Brown.
Regular meeting 6 is adjourned. Regular meeting number 7 will now come to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Pro Tem Brown.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Pro Tem Brown.
We will now go to the Zoning Committee. Councilmember Tyson chairs that committee, and all members serve on the committee.
Thank you. Before beginning the zoning agenda, I'll briefly explain the rules of council as pertaining to speaking before council on zonings and variances. We permit 3 speakers on each side, 3 proponents and 3 opponents, and we ask that they limit their remarks to 3 minutes on each side, and we provide an opportunity for rebuttal from the applicant. On the advice of the City Attorney's Office, we ask that anyone here this evening who wishes to speak either for or against any council variance, including staff, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in. I wish to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Please answer, I will.
I will.
Thank you. The first ordinance is 193-2020 to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3356.03, a C4 permitted uses of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 4836 Cleveland Avenue to permit multi-unit residential development in the C4 commercial district. The applicant is National Church Residences, care of attorney Matthew Berlin. The proposed use is a multi-unit development. The city's department's recommendation is approval, and the Northland Community Council's recommendation is approval. This particular ordinance, the proposed development will be subject to competitive funding process by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which requires certain land attributes, including compliant zoning. Staff supports the council variance process to assist in the state funding application process. However, this ordinance includes a condition that a certificate of zoning clearance will not be issued until a follow-up rezoning to an appropriate zoning district has been completed. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 221-2020 to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3332.035R3 Residential District, 3332.05A4 Area District Lot Width Requirements, and 3332.13R3 Area District Requirements of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 1125 East Mound Street to permit a 2-unit dwelling with reduced development standards in the R3 residential district. The applicant is Preferred Home Investors, LLC, care of Dave Perry. The proposed use is a 2-unit dwelling. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Near East Area Commission's recommendation is approval 8-2. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 236-2020 to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3356.03C4 permitted uses, 3309.14A height districts 3312.49C minimum numbers of parking spaces required, and 3356.11C4 district setback lines of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 1040 West Broad Street to permit a 45-unit apartment building with reduced development standards in the LC4 Limited Commercial District. The applicant is Woda Cooper Companies, Incorporated, care of Dave Perry. The proposed use is a multi-unit residential development. The City Department's recommendation is approval. The Franklin Area Commission's recommendation is approval 19-0. Again, this particular ordinance is this particular development will be subject to competitive funding process by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which requires certain land attributes, including compliant zoning. Staff supports the council variance to assist in the state funding application, and the rezoning application, which is Z20-002, a request for the AR3 apartment residential district, has been filed and already is in process. So if there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is ordinance 242-2020 to rezone 1420 South 4th Street, being 10 acres located on the northeast corner of South 4th Street and East Jenkins Avenue from C4 Commercial District to R2F Residential District. The applicant is Brenda Parker. The proposed use is a single-unit dwelling. The City Department's recommendation is approval. The Columbus South Side Area Commission's recommendation is approval, 13-0. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed.
Thank you. And the last ordinance in zoning this evening is the ordinance 243-2020 to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3332.18D, the basis of commuting area, 3332.21, building lines, 3332.22, building lines on corner lots, exceptions, and 3332.27 rear yard of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 1420 South 4th Street to permit a single-unit dwelling with reduced development standards in the R2F residential district. The applicant is Brenda Parker. The proposed use is a single-unit dwelling. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Columbus South Side Area Commission's recommendation is approval, 13-0. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
Passed.
Thank you, and that concludes the zoning agenda this evening.
Thank you, Chair Tyson. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Pro Tem Brown.
We stand adjourned.
All right.